We do.
And I feel a particular kind of way about this one.
In Hot Topics.
A real particular kind of way about this one.
So I asked this question. How does the body positive movement cover a black woman who's being told, in order to get this job, you have to cut off your dreadlocks, which is a part of her cultural identity, which is a part of her beauty standard, which is a part of her identity?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're saying, oh, but you're still beautiful and accept yourself, but you got to lose those dreadlocks if you don't work here. Right. So again, I go back to the inclusivity of it all.
But let me say this part, because then the ideal is, because your dreadlocks are seen as less than. They are seen as inherently dirty, as inherently unkempt, right? So all of these negative attributes about a beauty standard then become attached to one's capacity to actually do a job.
Right.
This is
because
where
you can't work in dreadlocks. You can't.
You couldn't possibly be competent at this job.
No. How could you work in dreadlocks? Who can do that?
How could you think clearly?
I don't. Just saying that the fact that we wasted thousands and thousands of taxpayer dollars to even have this conversation at the highest court of the land is ridiculous.
But to me, it's ridiculous, and at the same time, for me, it reinforces how we can't be so quick to dismiss how body image and aesthetics as being only body image and aesthetics.
Right.
We as human beings have this uncanny ability to make bleep extra. Like, we got to take everything to the nth degree. And so what happens is we take this thing about aesthetics and we attach value and meaning to it beyond the simple aesthetics. That then, for people of color, have these negative differential outcomes and impacts as well.
And so, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and so to bridge the gap between the point I made earlier and any potential confusion.
Build a bridge.
Okay. Build a bridge. Excuse me. I said build a gap. I don't want a gap. I want a bridge.
Build
Thank
the
you, sis. Because I'm doing three many things over here.
Of course you are.
Can I just tell the listeners what's happening right now? Yes, I am sipping. You know, I keep a cup of good cup of something. But I also have a cat who is he's the neediest creature in the world. So he always decides, oop, you're in the middle of doing a podcast. It's time to come up and get some love from you. And so he's trying to jump up in my lap.
Is that what I'm always hearing? I thought you were like jingling.
Yes, that's the jingling you hear in the background.
And but is it his like little bell?
Yes. I put it on him to know when he's coming, because he would I'd be laying in bed and he'd just run up and jump on top of me. And don't forget, I'm a black man. You running up on me, that may be that's problematic.
It's problematic. You might get punched in your little
You
face.
just may get a gut check, and I don't care if you a kitty or not. So, focusing, bridging the gap between of any potential misinformation. When I said earlier, speaking about hair and skin color, etc., I don't want the listeners to think that what I was saying is that the body positive movement does not address those things. It does. Part of it does address systemic racism. Okay? It does. And there are several working definitions out there that state just that. There's several organizations that state that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking not about standing as that person who's dealing with that body image in front of or in concert with cisgender white women and saying body positive. I'm talking about dealing with the subtle nuances that led that person to do that in the first place. That's what the movement doesn't address. There's no place in the movement for a woman who's told in order to get this job, you have to cut your dreadlocks off. That there's nothing that the movement can do for her. So she needs to do more work. And I just want to make that very clear to people, because I don't want anyone to think that I am disparaging the body positivity movement. Let's say this. You asked about men. 10 years ago, I was 150 pounds, 8% body fat. I wore schmediums. When I met you. I wore schmediums. Schmedium shirts. Nipples on fleek, walking around the street. You know, I had to work the word nipple back in there again. And I had a 28-inch waist. Don't hate, right? I was a twink or chocolate Twinkie, if we are going to use
that's a different podcast.
The LGBT terminology. I was a chocolate Twinkie in Chelsea, right? I would get on the train. People wouldn't even look at me because I was a wisp of a person coming up on the train. Ain't nobody checking for me, right? Today, I am 200 pounds. I am solid. I am thick. When I walk into a room, I walk in with presence. It doesn't make a difference if I'm in a business suit or a jogging suit. People look at me and grab their bags. Because now I fit the stereotype of a black man that they're used to. Before I wasn't. So in this body positivity context, I'm very comfortable being 200 pounds. I was very comfortable being 150 pounds. But my being comfortable in my own skin does not negate the experience that I have in the real world. And to that point of speaking of health, I have always been pre-diabetic. I was pre-diabetic at 158% body fat. I'm pre-diabetic now at 200 pounds with 23% body fat. It has always been 5.9, my A1C. Why? Because my mother is diabetic. Her mother, and her mother, and her mother. So when it's genetic, there's nothing you can do about it.
Let's just be clear. I'm not spouting off none of my numbers on this podcast. You can keep on
your
with
numbers,
your
girl. Know your numbers,
numbers, and body fat percentages, and all of that. Keeping all of my personal business to myself over here.
Your personal business.
Because you putting all yours out there. Don't we trying to set a precedent either? I just want everybody.
And you know what? And I have
no
problem with it. I have no problem with it because
I know you don't. Because you mean that when you say you're comfortable in your
absolutely am.
In one way or the other, right?
Absolutely.
And that is wonderful. I love it. Absolutely love it. I have.
Wait a minute. Are you about to do a so happy for you with a light clap in the background? Is that what I'm getting right now?
No, I actually wasn't. What I was going to say is, all of that is wonderful, and we also have to recognize that that's not always true for folks. Right. I mean, people engage in skin bleaching for a reason, and people do the cosmetic changes to themselves for a reason. And that is in order to fit into the ideal and fit into the mainstream.
Okay. So,
and I also have to wonder, let me say this. I also have to wonder if part of the unspoken desire to fit into the mainstream is not just being able to fit in and be accepted, but also to make sure you're not outed, right? To make sure you're not ostracized or singled out, in a sense, to maybe attempt to have a little bit more of an easy road, or to be safe, or to be able to kind of navigate certain spaces with greater ease.
Right. And I was just going to say, back in high school, when I was lost, oh my God, I can't even believe it. I'm going to put you in my doobie deeps. Back in high school, notice I'm getting real low and real close to the mic. I know you got real close to the mic. I don't want the cats to hear this.
I feel like we're in an MTV confessional right now. You're getting real close to the
mic. When Bobby came to me and told me about Susie, I didn't want to tell the producers. Right? No, seriously. Back back in high school when I went to an all-boys military academy, of which there were like 7 black folk in the whole building, right? I went up in that CVS and I bought Ambi. Do you know what that is?
I do.
Yes. Do you know what it did? It
your skin all the way up.
My skin.
It ate your skin all the way up.
I'm sitting up here looking two-tone walking around in these streets.
And so for some of our non-melanated listeners that may be unaware, what is Ambi?
Ambi is skin bleaching specifically for black people. Now, they say it's to, quote, even your skin tone if you have freckles and this kind of thing like that. And you just put it on and it evens the skin tone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the way it's usually used, it's not just about evening one's skin tone. It lightens one's skin, completely lightens it. And it discolored my skin because it didn't lighten evenly. So I'm sitting up here looking crazy. And I say this to say, when we talk about body positivity, who I am today is not who I've always been. And I need the listeners to hear that and understand it's work. And we've spoken about this in different forms throughout, in various different podcasts. This is work. To be the man I am today took a lot of work. It took therapy. It took reflection. It took meditation. It took really being real with myself and saying, what do you hate about yourself so much that you need to bleach your skin? And I had to really have that question. Now, I could have lied to myself and say, oh, well, I'm not really bleaching my skin because I hate being black. It's because I want more opportunities as a black man because, light-skinned black people do better.
Right.
Right? I could do that. And I could justify it.
The problem with that, though, even if you justify it in that way, the distortion still is that it puts all of the blame on you.
Exactly.
And no accountability to the structures that create that reality for you.
Which is why I walk up in these streets with the God-given melanin that I have and say, accept me or not. Because I'm not carrying your luggage through the airport, boo. Those are your bags.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that, to me, is the power of body positivity. And that's where I want to see the movement go, to become more inclusive and just really just rock, right? But when I hear terms and definitions that include terms like forgiveness, forgive yourself for being in the skin you're in, I don't know if that works for me.
It does not. What do I need to be forgiven for? Yeah.
Right.
And I also would worry, too, about people that are not able-bodied. Like, what if you were born without a standard able body? Then what are you forgiving yourself for? That's the way you came through.
Let me take it further. Okay? You don't even have to be able-bodied. What about women? God bless them. As a cancer survivor myself, I understand. What about women who dealt with breast cancer and have lost one or both of their breasts?
Right.
What about those women? Where are we with that? So when we're having these real conversations about body positivity and acceptance, I think acceptance is where it is. I can't stand in forgiveness. The forgiveness that I would do, I would forgive stupid people for being stupid.
Do you though?
No.
Do you really?
I said I would. That's why I use that.
Would.
I'm real careful with my words.
So that
I
theoretically,
would.
Theoretically.
In theory, not in practice, forgive stupid people for being stupid. But the thing I also want to say to the listeners today is, if someone is up there in these streets talking about you, it's because they are having problems with them. You go ahead on and hashtag them, thoughts and prayers, and you keep it moving with your day. Why are you laughing? I'm real with
because
that.
Because I'm like, wait a minute. The doctor is in, but Tomas is preaching. We need a hashtag for you because you didn't got up on the soapbox about it. If you are listening today, that's where you always start.
And if you do believe that people have a right to body shame, I say no.
Don't do it.
No, it's not. We have to own what is ours and let go what is not.